He was most definitely making her nervous. Not even an innocent debutante would believe he was talking about the conservatory with a remark like that. Especially not after the way he'd studied her with his eyes all through dinner, stalking her without moving from the table, or after the way his hand had loitered so deliberately at her back. What was worse, his attentions had aroused her. She was honest enough to admit it, to herself at least.
This place holds the heat in winter. The glass makes it possible to trap the heat from the sun.
She was rambling out of some desperate need to minimize the tension that had sprung between them.
Your father liked to come here when he was well enough. Henry and I would bring him and spend the afternoons reading.
She stopped suddenly and faced him, realizing she hadn't offered any condolences. It had seemed the wrong thing to do amid the gay atmosphere of the aunt's dinner party.
I am sorry for your loss. Your father was a good man, a brave man.
Was he?
Mr. Bedivere's green eyes narrowed in dangerous disagreement.
Pardon me, Mrs. Ralston. I don't need a stranger to tell me about my father.
A person of less fortitude might have flinched under the cold words. She squared her shoulders and met his gaze unswervingly.
Forgive me. I thought perhaps it would ease your grief to know he died well.
Why? Because I wasn't here?
There it was, the crime she'd charged him with at the dinner table. Absent Ashe Bedivere, who couldn't be bothered to come home. It seemed wrong that she, a mere stranger of a neighbour, had seen more of the Earl in his last days than his own son had. Surely you knew how grave his situation had become.
Is the pun intended, Mrs. Ralston?
There was a terse set to his finely carved jaw, and a hardness to his gaze that matched his rigid posture. Genevra bristled. Handsome or not, it was ill-mannered of him to think she'd engage in witty wordplay in the midst of a delicate conversation.
No, the pun is not intended. Was your absence intended, that is?
His eyes glittered dangerously, his tone forebodingly quiet.
I must inform you, Mrs. Ralston. I find this an unsuitable topic of conversation between two people who have barely met.
Genevra tilted her chin upwards a mere fraction, letting her cold tone convey just the opposite.
My apologies for any untoward assumptions.
His eyes were studying her again, the hardness gone now, replaced by something else more feral.
You shouldn't say things you don't mean, Mrs. Ralston.
The faintest hint of a wicked smile played on his lips. The dratted man was calling her out, fully aware she hadn't really apologized.
And you, sir, should know better than to scold a lady.
Genevra opted for the high road.
Why is that?
He stepped closer to her, the clean, manly scent of him swamping her senses, his nearness hinting of the muscled physique beneath the clothes. He was all man, and there was no place for her to go. She'd backed herself against a stone bench. This was nothing like being with Henry. Henry was a consummate companion, comfortable, never imposing. There were no prickles of awareness like the ones goose-pimpling her skin right now.
Because you are a gentleman.
At least he was dressed like one. Up close, she could appreciate